Alright, this is part 2 of the bottom end rebuild on a 600 Grizzly. I've swapped the crank out of the crank rod out of the old crankcase and put in my new case. We used but new, but anyway. I oiled up that bearing. I froze this for like 4 hours, the crank rod. I heated up the housing for like 10 minutes. I used the Tusk crankcase installer and case splitter tool. It comes with the puller, the puller there, as you can see. It's got all these, the screws and nuts to split the case. It's got these adapters for the crank rod, such that stuff. It's got a little bitty small one there for smaller engines, and then the splitter is under this. It's the 3-way thing. That costed like 80 bucks. Wasn't too bad, but took like 2 weeks to get in. But the next part that I'm gonna do, if you can remember, line this dot with that dot. Line from the crank rod and your other counterweight gear. You have to line them up so they won't hit each other. This is the oil pump. I just put my gasket on it out of the they call it a high-speed gasket kit. Costed I think 60 bucks. It comes with all the gaskets, all the valve seals, top end gasket, the top bottom gasket, the belt housing gasket, the bottom O-ring on the head, 2 muffler gaskets, the timing tensioner gasket, the clutch cover gasket. So it's pretty much all there. So I just gotta wait on my top end. But right now, what I'm getting ready to do, since I installed my oil pump and I sprayed all this down, cleaned it real good, I'm going to install clean my gears. I'm gonna clean my shifting forks. I'm gonna clean these. My shifting forks here, these can only go one way, like I said before. This one goes right. See, this cap, that little cap goes there. Spring sets in there. Your rod, let me show you. I'm just going to show you real quick. I don't like the way that sounded. Let me spray this rod off real quick, or wipe it down real quick. Just a moment. And when you do this, when you get your case and all that stuff, even if it's brand new, I was watching a guy on here. His name is Jonathan Talley, or John Talley, or something like that. He's like a professional. And he was rebuilding a Raptor, and he had a brand new case from Yamaha. And he cleaned it. And it had a bunch of residue and dirt and all that stuff in it. But there's the shifting rod. Then your little cap there. Your spring. Then this shifting fork, how it's flat, goes in first, and they both go up like this. I'm just showing you. It goes in, and that spring sets right around that. That right there sets right around this. See, this other one, it's your outer one, not your inner one, it's your outer one, because this has no bevel, no flat end on it. And then both have to be up like that for your shifting drum, little grooves in your shifting drum to catch it and shift through the gears. This goes on the other side of this bearing. This is where your shifting drum goes, and this is what goes on the threaded part right there. And then these gears only go in one way. The big side first. Yeah. And then we only go in one way. It's hard to do with one hand. There we go. But that, pretty sure goes in like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it goes in like this. I can't be 100% sure, but I will get back to you on that. But your shifting drum though, your shifting drum goes right there. Your shifting forks and stuff like that go right here. This thing, this, which I need to clean it up. You can see all the stuff on it, which I'm going to use a different one. It's, see that other one right there? It's got the 6 holes to match up with these 6 holes. But that goes like that. If you disassemble this, if you take this nut off, you take this gear off, there's a little thin spacer washer right behind that gear. You can't see it, but it's really thin. It's right behind that gear. So, and then this gear comes out with the rod. But so far, I've installed the crank, the counterweight, oil pump. Now I'm going to work on this gear that I just showed you, the big gear right there. I'm going to put it in, but first, before I do that, I've got to put my shifting drum and my gears in, and then I can piece this in, because I'm going to take that apart because it's easier to do instead of having this in and then putting your other stuff in. But as you can tell from my previous video, that bearing is all the way recessed. A good way to test that, God, it's heavy since it's got some weight in it. Let's get these spring and rod and stuff out. But a good way to test that is to get some feeler gauges. Get your smallest feeler gauge, which mine is a 0.002 or a 0.51 millimeter, and you see if you can't get that up in between the case and the bearing, and I could not, but you can visually see that is, you know, from my eye, I've already checked it, but you can see that that's all the way in, and it does, you know, pretty good. But whenever you install this too, a while ago I thought this wasn't gonna work, but this will have a little play in it before any of these gears are in, or that your case is on, the other side of your case is on, this will have a little, left or right play or up and down play, but it's not much. It's nothing to be, worried about, because this right here is what ties all that in with your other case. This nut comes off, and you put your other case on, and it goes right over this. I guess it sets into another housing on the other case, and it, holds it in a good place. But so far, that's it. I will make another video after I got my shifting drum, all my gears in. I make sure it's in neutral and it goes through all the gears. And I got this other gear here, which I'm not for sure what that is really. I couldn't tell you. But make sure after you get all your gears, shifting gears and stuff like that in, don't forget this little hollowed out bolt right here. You take that out, because after you get your shifting drum in and stuff, there is this ball and spring, like I said in my last video, that go up inside that. But the only way that'll work, because you can see right here the 4 indentations where the 4 gears: neutral, reverse, high, and low. That ball, I don't know what its actual designated purpose is, but that spring that sets up inside that, you take that bolt out and you put that bolt, ball and spring in last after you get all your gears and stuff in and your shifting drum. That bolt and the ball and spring go in last. You just drop that ball down right in that groove, either one, and you put your spring in there, and then you tighten your bolt down, and it won't fall out, I promise. Now, whenever you're like taking the case and stuff apart, it will fall out, because it pulls that shifting drum back and it gives it enough room to where it'll fall out. But I will post another video once I get all my shifting and all my gears and stuff like that in. But that is just, some of the process. It looks like I've not done much, but I've been waiting on, parts, gasket maker, gaskets, that tool to get that crank out of the old case that wasn't no good, and put it in this good case, because it's still a good crank. You can see it. It has hardly any left to right play compared to this one, which I'll show you like I did last time. This one right here has a lot. You can see it. Has a lot. There's a bearing. You can rebuild these if you want to, but they are really hard to do. I don't have the tool to split this out, because there's a roller bearing under this, and this just like splits apart, and you can rebuild the whole thing. Another thing, don't forget your dowel pins. There's a dowel pin here, and right here, this is how I got received. It broke. This is how I received this, unfortunately. But I don't think that's going to hurt it, because it still sets halfway into the other case. So I believe that'll be fine. But, yeah, that was unfortunate when I received that. I was kind of bummed out, because I paid a lot of money for this. But this is just a kind of a run through of where what goes, because there's not a whole lot of, internals to this engine, which it's a 600. I thought there would be a lot more gears to it, but there's really not. I mean, that's pretty much your main gears right there, and your shifting drum. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I will show you my progress on the part 3, and I'll show you how everything goes together and works once I get to that point. This is the end of part 2, showing you my progression, because it is very important not to rush through this, because if you do, you're going to regret it, and you're going to have to go redo all this stuff over again. Plus, another tip, when you put your gasket maker on, see, I ordered the Yama Bond for Motorsport. I mean, I ordered that stuff because it's the exact stuff that they tell you to buy for cases. And that took a while, and I bought some thread locker too. Thread locker, I'm gonna thread lock these 6 bolts. I would thread lock these 3 bolts, which I didn't do, but I tightened them down really good. There's 3 there, if you can see. I would thread lock them in too, just to be sure, and to thread lock these 2 bolts right here, because if them was to come out, it would be catastrophic, and all that work done for nothing. But yeah, this is the end of part 2 of the rebuild. Yep, just stay tuned. Hopefully you guys, learn this. Makes it easier and more simple to rebuild and put back together. Or in other people's cases, tearing them down to know what parts are what to sell out. But enough of me talking. I'm ending the video. Peace out.